So Sam and I first met at a YSA activity.
We met dancing at a church activity.
He was in charge of putting together a masquerade ball, and he wanted to teach everyone like ballroom dancing. So he asked the Maycocks to come and teach it. And so their daughter Allison called me. She was like, hey, they're doing like a YSA activity. They're teaching ballroom. It's going to be super fun. You should come. And I was like, okay, yeah, I like dancing.
The Maycocks were putting on a ballroom dance activity, and I was in charge of that activity, and I was late for that. And Hispanic Standard Time, so I wasn't really late. It was just perfectly on time for my standards.
And so it was just super fun. He came in and he was super nice. I saw him like asking people to dance, and I just remember thinking that it was just really cool because he really knew how to make people feel important. And I just thought that was really cool.
I remember walking into the gym and seeing her, and she was just enveloped by like a huge group of people, and all of them were talking to her, and she was just like the life of the party. And so I was super, super impressed. I'm like, who is that girl? Like, dang, she's beautiful. And all these people know her, and I don't. What's this about? Like, and so I remember walking up and asking her to be my dance partner for that activity.
So then he asked me to dance, and it was super fun because like he was really good at it.
And she was such a good dancer. She, 10 out of 10, was able to learn everything just so quickly, and it was just the funnest thing ever being able to dance with her.
I think my favorite part though was at the end of that activity, everyone was just kind of mingling and walking around and chatting, and then they were still playing music, and so he comes up to me and says, hey, we're going to keep dancing. And so we were dancing the rest of the night and learning a bunch of new cool tricks and moves and stuff, and it was just a lot of fun.
And so yeah, the rest is history, as we say. Our first date, I went and picked her up and then took her back to my place, and we made dinner together.
He made me Alfredo and steak. It was really yummy.
And Annabelle loves pasta, so it just worked out.
And so we just made dinner together and talked and got to know each other a little bit more. It was cute because he asked me, it was kind of out of the blue, super random, but he was like, hey, how many siblings do you have? And I was like, oh, I just have a younger brother. And he was like, I want to do something for him. And I was like, what do you mean?
And then afterwards we went around and we did an anonymous service activity, is what our activity was for that night.
Anyway, so it was super cute. We put together this little surprise for him.
So we took some treats over to some people that were very special to Annabelle.
I don't know if he knows it was us still, so if you don't, now you do. So, so yeah, that was just super fun. I just remember thinking he was just super sweet, and it was super fun.
And it was just like one of those feel-good dates, you know. We went to the park after ding-dong ditching their house, and we just sat on the jungle gym and talked, and it was just a blast. And so our first date was just good vibes, good feels. Nothing spicy, no romance. Well, that's not true. That's not true. I remember, I took her to the park afterwards, and then I danced with her there and I held her hand. So there's a little bit of romance there. I might have sang to her. But anyway, it was good. It was just a solid first date.
So how Sam and I started dating is kind of funny because when we first met, we went on a couple dates and it was going really well. Like, I thought we were really liking each other, and then he totally friend-zoned me. He texted me one night. He was just like, hey, like, I think that we should just be friends for now, and like kind of stop pursuing like this dating direction for the moment. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, sounds all right. Like, it was just a couple dates, whatever.
I remember we were at swing dancing one night together, and I ripped my pants pretty bad. It was pretty embarrassing.
But he kind of just kept coming around and hanging out. Like, he kept asking me to go to lunch, or just hanging out with my friends, or I was hanging out with his friends.
And I remember standing against the wall with her, like we were talking a little bit. And then we left. As we were driving home, she asked me, she's like, hey, so somebody asked me on a date while we were there, and I didn't know what to tell them. So, you know, and she kind of just left it at that. And so I was like, yeah. She's like, I don't really know what we are. And I was like, you know what? Hold that thought. And so
what I didn't know was that the whole time he was actually still trying to pursue me, but just wanted to make sure that I like had enough time for myself, because I just barely got home from my mission and there was a lot of that going on, but he didn't explain any of that to me when he originally told me, so I thought we were just friends for a while. I thought that's what he wanted.
I remember driving her. I had a bandana in my car, and so I was like, here, put this on. I'm stealing you, I'm kidnapping you. And so she put on the blindfold, and I took her here to the riparian preserve. And I remember going and getting her out of the car, picking her up and carrying her over to the part of the riparian preserve where there's a bridge. And I had a little candle in my car as well, because I come prepared for these things apparently. And I remember taking her to the bridge, just setting her down, and I lit up the little candle, and I took off her blindfold, and there we were on the water together with the little candle, and I sang for her and slow danced with her. And after the dance, I asked her to be mine, and she said yes. And so it was really, really fun. And that's from that day on, we were official, going strong, and things were just really, really good.
We both ended up coming together again, and he was inviting me to a lot of things, and he asked me to go to a choir concert with him, but like be in the concert with him. I'm not a singer, so the fact that I went showed that I kind of liked being around this guy a lot. So I went, and it was super fun, and then he dropped me off, and then anyway, he kissed me. That's a whole different story though. But since then, we just kind of started dating, like officially.
So what was our first kiss story? It was terrible. It was horrendous.
Oh gosh. One of the most embarrassing moments of my entire life. I'm really grateful that our dating life does not resemble this first kiss, because it was interesting. He'll agree. He'll say the same thing, I'm sure of it.
I remember taking her home. We're on the doorstep. I'm giving her a hug for 90 seconds or so, and it's just cute. I'm holding her. And then I pull away and go in for a kiss. I think it's pretty obvious that this is coming, right? But no, her mouth hit the floor, and her jaw hit the floor, and her mouth was open, and so I end up kissing her teeth, and it was just terrible. It was so awkward. It
was really awkward, especially, okay. I wasn't expecting it. And so when it happened, I was very not prepared.
And so I remember pulling away from it, and I was like, what the heck was that?
I was thrown off quite a bit because, like I said earlier, I thought that we were just friends from that point, and I thought that he only saw me as a friend and that was it. And so when he dropped me off from that choir concert, he went in to kiss me, and I was baffled, so I did not react.
And so I was like, we can't leave on that. We can't end on that. We got to try that again. So I go in, and the same thing, her mouth is still open. And it was the same thing, kissed her teeth again. And I was like, oh, dang it, Annabelle, we got to try that again. And so I kissed her again 3 times, same thing. And by the end of it, I was just so embarrassed. I was like, all right, thanks for the date. I will see you later. Peace. And I remember walking out and just face palming the whole way home.
It was very interesting, to say the least.
I sent her a text. I'm like, I am so sorry for the most awkward kiss that was ever invented by man. And she apologized. She's like, oh, I was just surprised. Anyway, thank goodness we figured it out. It took us a couple more dates to figure things out on that front. So what is Annabelle and I's thing together?
I kind of already know what Sam would say, so this might be cheating, but he says that just together is our favorite thing.
We just like to do together.
Which I would agree. I think just doing anything with him is super fun.
Anything that we're doing is so great. Whether we're making dinner and dancing in the kitchen while we're doing it, or whether we're sitting on the couch and we're doing her homework, it's just the best time all the time. So I'd say just spending time together is really our favorite activity. So how did the proposal happen?
We've been talking about it for a little bit, and then So I knew like something was coming soon-ish. And my birthday was coming up too. It was like early July. And so one night he took me out to dinner, and I was kind of thinking like, is this it? Is this it? And I saw what he was wearing, and I was like, okay, maybe not that. Maybe not today.
I told her I was going to kidnap her for the day, and so she came ready to be kidnapped.
And then like a week later, he took me up to Heber, and he was funny. He just kept saying like, oh, I'm going to kidnap you today. And I was like, okay, like that'll be fun. We'll go up to Heber. He was like, dress nice. And I was like, all right, this is it.
And I remember blindfolding her, taking her up to the mountains. And I juked her like 3 times was the goal. I wanted to juke her a few times.
It was torture though, because the whole day he kept driving me to like different locations, and then he kept like, we just kept hanging out. And so I was like, any place that we stopped, I kept like looking around and being like, is there any like cameras, like something, is it here? And then he would be like, all right, let's get back to the car. And I was like, it's not here. Okay, cool, sounds good.
So I took her to like this super romantic spot, like pretended like I was gonna propose, and then did it. And I was like, all right, we gotta go somewhere else. And so like we were like on the top of the mountain looking down over the valley, like it was just beautiful. And I was like, all right, we gotta piece out of here. And so I took her to this restaurant after that, and like just looking around at the waiter, like, you're gonna bring the ring on the thing? And no, I juked her there. And then I took her to a lake, and I remember just like we were watching the sunset at the lake, and so just beautiful.
He took me to watch the sunset, and I thought that would be it, and it wasn't.
So I wanted her to work for it a little bit, but I remember I was like, all right, well, I didn't kidnap you as planned originally. I let you take off the blindfold like halfway through the drive, so we'll have to do it right now.
He was like, okay, now put this blindfold on. And I was like, okay, this is it then, this is it. I was like, the whole time he's been teasing me and tricking me, and then finally I was like, okay, this is it.
I put the blindfold back on her, took her back to the car, and then drove her out to the forest in Heber area.
And he gets me out of the car and starts walking a little bit. We're like in the middle of the forest.
Out there, I had prearranged with my family to have set up lights all throughout the trees, and just have a picnic set up out there in the forest. And
I didn't know this at the time, but he forgot the ring in the car.
I realized, oh shoot, I forgot the ring. And so I left her out there in the forest. I was like, you'll be okay, right? Like, I just need to run back to the car for something, like, you know. And she's like,
okay. Just like he leaves me there blindfolded for a second.
So I leave my fiance standing out there blindfolded in the forest. And I book it back to the car, get the car. I like put her in the car for like a second, drove her like 20 feet maybe. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, we're here. And then grabbed the ring this time, took her out to the spot. And
then the closer we get, I start hearing music play. And then he takes off my blindfold, and there were like a trail of lights leading up to this really pretty like picnic spot.
And when we walked up, I danced with her a little bit there, sang to her, and got down on one knee and proposed.
And then he got down on one knee and asked me to marry him, and it was super sweet. And
she waited a while before she said anything. She kind of just stared at me. And so I was like, she's gonna say yes, right? Like, and finally she just kind of snapped out of it. She's like, oh yeah, yes.
It was just magical, super pretty. It was awesome.
And so it was really fun. We ate a lot of food out there in the forest, and it was just a blast. So definitely a night to remember.
There are a lot of things to like about Sam, so it's hard to pick. It's funny, a lot of people, well, like his sisters will tease him about like being a romantic, and he is such a romantic, which is actually, it's really cute. He's really good at it. He writes poems, and he's just so thoughtful, like brings me flowers just randomly. So I love how thoughtful and caring he is.
One of the first things that drew me to her was that she was just full of light. Just I don't know how to explain it, just everything about her radiated light. She was just so happy, so joyful. I knew that she loved people by the way that she interacted with them. And she was just so unfailingly kind. I heard it said once that the essence of a celestial life is kindness. And I realized that having a life with Annabelle meant that I would have a celestial life here on earth. And so there's nothing closer to heaven that I could experience than being with her. And I truly feel that every day.
I love how thoughtful and caring he is. I love that he serves my family and just how involved he is in just being a part of my life, and it's just super sweet. I also just love how hardworking and diligent he is. Like, he sets goals and he sticks to them and he reaches them and accomplishes them, and I just think that's a super awesome quality that he has, and it's very special. So he's just a great guy. Like, you can't really complain. Like, yeah, I just love him. That's all.
And so I'd say just her kindness, how she presents herself to the world around her, and how she treats every person that she interacts with. Doesn't matter if they're the waiter or if they're her family member, she treats them all with love and with respect and with dignity. And I find that incredibly, incredibly attractive in Annabelle. So how did I know that Annabelle was the one? I'm a spreadsheet kind of person, and so I had it listed out like, okay, these are her core attributes, this is her character, these are her values, this is what I am looking for, and she was everything that I had ever wanted in a person.
I think when I knew before we like openly discussed it was when he wanted to take my brother out to a buffet. Like, he just said, hey, I want to spend time with Charlie more, and I want to like go and like get to know him better, and maybe I could teach him how to like change oil in a car. And he was just like doing all of these things, and it just made me think that if he would take care of my brother that way, then he would take care of our future kids like really well. And so I think that was when I really knew, just seeing his character and his qualities and knowing that he was just always going to be there.
My last criteria that I had on that list was that she had to be somebody that I wanted my future daughters to turn out like. And I realized over the course of our time together that there was nobody on this earth that I had ever met that I would want my future daughters to be like other than Annabelle. And so it was an unequivocal yes for that question. And at that point I was like, yeah, this is it. It's not just my heart that's telling me this, it's my mind as well. And when those two things are united, I think there's a lot of power. And so I knew at that moment, like, yeah, this is my girl. And so I'm super, super grateful that she felt the same about me. So what am I most excited for? Honestly, I've come to realize with Annabelle that I had milestones in my mind. It's like, oh, like I'm going to be so excited like whenever we start officially dating. Oh, I'm going to be so excited whenever we become engaged. Oh, I'm going to be so excited whenever I fill in the blank. And as I continue to progress in my relationship with Annabelle, I realized that it's not the milestones that happen. It's all about our experiences together. The
more that he and I like get to know each other, and the more that we're learning and growing and like just learning to combine our lives together, like I'm just excited to keep learning and to like keep doing stuff with him. We're planning on moving soon and renovating our first home together, and so that's something like immediately that I'm super excited for. But ultimately I'm really excited for him like to be a dad. I'm excited to see him like interact with our children and like things like that. I love, and I think the things I value the most with Annabelle is whenever we get to spend time together and just talk about things and get to see into each other's souls. And so I think I'm just most excited to really truly know her and become one with her in all areas. Knowing that I'll be able to spend every minute with him after is just super exciting, and it's cute. He says that he hates how I say goodbye to him every night, and so I'm really excited that I'll never have to say that again, so that'll be really nice. Because she's my best friend, and I'm just so excited to have her there every single day. Never have to say goodbye to her again. So I'd say that's probably what I'm most excited for.